A CBS News investigation has identified hundreds of reports of sexual abuse at children's camps across the country. This is the time of the year when many parents register their kids for camps.
"30 pages just about the West Coast parishes with 8 connections to Brophy College Prep." The Jesuits, which oversee the placement of some Catholic priests, released a nationwide list of clergy accused of sex abuse. Now, 8 of the priests at one time served at Brophy Prep.
CBS News investigation has uncovered an alleged lack of action by one of the most powerful Catholic Church leaders in handling sex abuse claims. Cardinal Daniel DiNardo has been the Archbishop of Galveston, Houston since 2006 and is president of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. Last week, he presided over around 300 bishops in Baltimore to address the church's sex abuse crisis.
It's being called the Summer of Shame. 6 months of sexual abuse revelations that have rocked the Catholic Church.
Raises new questions about the leadership of one of the top Catholic officials in this country, Cardinal Daniel DiNardo, who is head of the U.S. Conference of Bishops. He is also one of the most vocal critics of the church's handling of the sex abuse scandal. But earlier this year, a priest Cardinal DiNardo had promoted was arrested for allegedly abusing 2 children.
Tease with CBS News. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. But I'm going to a meeting.
We spent 3 months asking for a formal interview with Cardinal DiNardo. He never made himself available, so we caught up with him in the hallway during the conference of the U.S. bishops in Baltimore last week. Are you aware that you have 2 priests with credible sexual abuse allegations currently in active ministry in your diocese?
It depends what names you're talking about.
Father John Keller and Reverend Terrence.
That's not a credible one.
Are they
Terry
two?
was never credible.
Are those the 2 names going to be on your list of credibly accused priests that you released in January?
We're working on the list.
Does the name John Labonte sound familiar?
Yes. I would prefer to do this at another time.
We've been requesting. We'd love to sit down.
At another time, yeah.
Is there anything you say to the survivors and victims? What would you say to Father Keller today?
Come clean. You step up.
What would you say to Cardinal DiNardo?
Don't leave any stones unturned. Put effort into it. Fix the problem.
It's a challenging time for the Catholic Church. Priests all across the country coming under fire amidst allegations of abuse.
Back now with the major shock at a Catholic parish in California. 2 nuns accused of raiding school funds for years, their spending spree allegedly including gambling trips.
These 2 nuns are asking for forgiveness and prayers after embezzling hundreds of thousands of dollars to, among other things, pay for trips to Sin City.
Gambling and jet setting. Not exactly the lifestyle you might expect for 2 nuns.
They'd come driving in their nice white Volvos, and they lived in a nice condo, and the parents aren't asking, that seems kind of strange for people that took an oath of poverty.
One of the 10 commandments is thou shalt not steal, a lesson the Archdiocese says was apparently ignored by 2 nuns at this Southern California Catholic school. The school telling parents Sister Mary Margaret Kruper and Sister Lana Chang admit embezzling school funds. The Archdiocese says the nuns took $500,000 or more over the years, allegedly to spend on travel and casino gambling. The alleged theft revealed during a recent audit. At first, the school said it does not wish to pursue criminal proceedings, but now the Archdiocese tells ABC News the investigation has deepened.
There's a lot of betrayal and feelings of anger, and really you're thinking about, how's this going to impact my child? I mean, these were the leaders of the school.
Be transparent. You're not going to ruin the reputation of the Catholic Church any more than it already is.
They've been compelled to. And the other thing is, they're the determining of what is released and not released. We would call for an outside civil agency to do the investigation. The church is not a good institution for deciding what is credible or not credible.
But we spoke with victims who say DiNardo still has their abusers in active ministry.
We must begin the healing process by eliminating the evil of sexual abuse.
Cardinal Daniel DiNardo has been the Archbishop of Galveston, Houston since 2006, and he's vowed by January to release a list of all the priests in Houston who have been, in the church's judgment, credibly accused of sexually abusing a child.
It's not going to be a complete list. I shrank. I was like, I'm not here. I left my body.
John Labonte, who is speaking out for the first time, says that Cardinal DiNardo has allowed this priest, Father John Keller, to continue presiding over one of the largest Catholic churches in Houston. Labonte says Keller molested him when he was 16 years old.
At your lowest point, what were you feeling?
I didn't want to be around. I was just consumed by pain.
Labonte brought his allegations to the Archdiocese. In 2002, he says he told them that Father Keller plied him with alcohol and fondled him in his bed on an overnight trip.
Well, I mean, right here where it says, acted very inappropriate.
A letter from the Archdiocese says that Father Keller acknowledged holding Labonte in a manner inappropriate for a priest, but denies any sexual intent. Ultimately, the church could not conclude that what happened constituted sexual abuse. The church promised to put Father Keller into therapy, and Cardinal DiNardo has kept him in active ministry.
Peace be with you.
At Prince of Peace Church, where our CBS News cameras captured Cardinal DiNardo visiting recently.
Just last week, we saw Cardinal DiNardo in Father John Keller's church. What does that tell you?
If he knows, then he's a liar, and it makes me angry.
Within the walls of each of the 145 dioceses that form the U.S. Catholic Church are the secret archives containing the clergy's most confidential and sensitive records. Could they contain more evidence of priests sexually abusing children and the actions to cover it up? That's what the U.S. Department of Justice wants to know.
We've been trying to get this investigation going as survivors and victims for years. We asked year after year for this. The evidence is mountain after mountain of evidence.
We found out they are so secret only one person has the key to them.
Mia, say you're Catholic and you've been to confession. What you've shared in confidence might be in a secret archive. And if you're a priest confessing a sin, that might be in there too.
Among the beliefs the Catholic Church holds sacred is the confession of sins, no matter how dark.
In their belief system, people's souls depend on it.
And that clergy need to keep those sins confidential so that people keep showing up.
If people don't go to confession because they think it will be disclosed, then that somehow can place them eternally in jeopardy.
Priests must confess too, and as lecturer Aaron Ott with the University of Houston's Religious Studies program explains, sometimes, just as psychiatrists do, notes are taken, and they go into what the church calls a secret archive.
What do you assume that these secret archives actually look like?
The conspiracy theories abound about Vatican secret archives, and Dan Brown has made a career out of it, in his novel writing. But more than likely, it's a filing cabinet with that is marked confidential.
Archives that only the bishop has a key to, according to canon law.
Canon law are the bylaws by which the church runs itself.
Authorities searched the secret archives of the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston well into the night, looking for evidence of more clergy sex abuse.
That's the risk that they run by maintaining a file like this, because they potentially have consolidated into one place internal documents that can be the motherlode of evidence.
The report found over 1,000 child victims identified in the church's own records. It names more than 300 predator priests in 6 dioceses.
It came on the heels of an investigation in Pennsylvania.
It was child sexual abuse.
Families we spoke to say safety is one of their top priorities, but we found reports of more than 500 victims who were allegedly sexually abused at children's camps over the past 55 years. At least 21 of those cases surfaced this year alone.
It's a story that's been repeated again and again across the U.S. Combing through reports dating back to the 1960s, CBS News counted at least 578 victims who were allegedly sexually abused at children's camps.
That's probably just the tip of the iceberg.
John Conti studies child abuse and trauma at the University of Washington. He described how camps can sometimes create opportunities for predators.
I think it's isolation from parents. It's out of a normal routine. Some kids are a little bit older, and they're feeling more independent, and they may have a false sense of security.
After you took a shower, you put on your towel, and he didn't want you to wear underwear under it, and he checked you.
This video shows a Texas boy telling a psychologist what a camp counselor did to him in 2009. It allegedly happened over the course of 12 days at an overnight summer camp named Camp La Junta. When he returned home, the boy's mother says she knew something was wrong.
He was a different kid. He was not the happy-go-lucky little boy that loved to play outside.
It wasn't until 10 months later that her son revealed a 20-year-old camp counselor named Matthew Beauvais had allegedly molested him.
And what was your initial reaction?
I wanted to throw up. I was nauseous.
Combing through news reports dating back to the 1960s, CBS News counted more than 550 victims who were allegedly sexually abused at children's camps. More than 14 million people attend camps each year, but there are no national regulations for camps to follow. 8 states have no requirements for overnight camps to be licensed, and 18 states don't require background checks for employees. Further complicating matters, more than 20,000 camp counselors came from foreign countries on visas last year. If they did have anything on their records, security experts say it might not show up in a typical background check.
How big of a problem is this?
I mean, it's a big problem.
Rania Mancarios has been working on this issue with Houston Crime Stoppers.
If we can level the playing field, create national standards that all camps have to uphold to, for accreditation, for licensing, for permitting, for certification, then you start making it more difficult for predators to find their way in.
Victims advocates tell us that the real number of abuse cases is likely much higher since many are never reported.